Yeah. No, they're good players. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm sure the Blues fans who are watching this will have their own views. Let us know in the comments below what you think about any one player. You could bring them back. Then put them in the comments below and let us know what your thoughts are. I'd be interested to read those, wouldn't I?
So welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue. And in this podcast, we're going to continue with the theme of questions from the fans. Now, Dad put a community post out last week, and we also released a video on Monday going through some questions from the fans from that community post. Now, we were completely overwhelmed with the reception that we received and the amount of questions that we got. So we've broken it down into separate videos, and this is the second segment from that. So, Dad, happy for me to get straight into you and follow the first question, go from there?
Yeah, you did a quick. In the last one, I did a question, so you find me the questions, and I'll answer first, and then we can go from there. Yeah.
Okay, so the first one, I'm not too sure how I feel about this handle. It's from Mr. Spazwold.
yeah.
But, we'll go. Interesting handle. So, hi chaps, hope you're doing well. 2 questions. Cheating, I know. Are you thinking of setting up some super chats, or some way of us being able to show our support to you guys to keep the pod running? That's question 1. And question 2, the real question: how do you see the fan base growing under our new fantastic owners? I'm not negative, but genuinely curious as to how far-reaching the Blues fans' numbers actually are, and how much realistically can we grow. I've always seen us as a 30,000 max spectator club. Looking forward to watching the next episode. Enjoy the football break we have at the moment. Keep it on.
Okay, so answering the first question there about super chats and about showing support. I mean, the support that we get from the channel is amazing. Anyway, we get that from the views and the comments and the interaction and engagement we get with fans. So the support's already there, and I really do thank everybody who even watches our podcast. But anybody who takes the time to comment and interact with us. We really do appreciate it. So there's plenty of support out there. We do have chats from time to time about how we could potentially enhance the format of the channel. But as you know, guys, we are a studio-based podcast. We don't do live sort of match footages or stuff like that, and we do that purposely because that's the nature of our channel. We have spoken about the possibility of maybe doing or bringing guests into the studio, but we haven't quite got there with that just yet. But we obviously let you know of any potential changes to the the format if that happens. But before I go into the second part, Matt, have you got any comments about that?
Yeah, just to expand on yours, we've had chats, haven't we, Dad? We occasionally do these little kind of podcast review sessions, just casual chat on the way to the game in the car about what we could maybe do to improve or change. And we have juggled the idea of maybe live streaming or maybe getting a guest on of some kind. So we do talk about these things. We do consider these things moving forward. But as far as I'm concerned, I'd never gotten it for the money, although I absolutely love the question, more than appreciate people wanting to actually give us money to support the channel. That blows me away in and of itself. But the fact that people watch our videos and engage in the comments is more than enough for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's not really, isn't about we have never done this for any financial gain, but it's nice that people are thinking about that. Now on to the second one, which I thought was a great question about the sort of expanding the reach and how Nighthead would want to expand the reach. I think I think was this the question with the comment about what the comment was? I've always seen us as a 30,000 maximum spectator club.
That's the one.
I think that our capacity is well above that. I think that the tickets that have been sold for Wembley, they gave us and we'll easily sell the 43,000 allocation. Plus they reckon with hospitality, Birmingham City Hospitality, that's going to be closer to 50. And also we are a generational fan base, so therefore you had no choice but to support the Blues, because I did. Your boys will have no choice to support the Blues because it's generational, isn't it? So therefore we're a club that's got a history, and that history generates with it generational support, and that will continue. And particularly as the Blues gets more successful, but also as well, I think with the American owners as well, they'll be keen to expand the fan base globally with the impact of social media now, which we know that the Nighthead are really big on, and also as well trying to promote us in America as well and raise the club's profile in America. And I think by the nature of the players that we sign around the world, that will also influence the increase in the so there's lots of ways of doing it. And also one final thing, when we eventually do get back to the Premier League, however long that takes, that in itself will automatically generate extra interest in the club. So I think there's a whole range of different ways in which the club will expand its fan base, and success brings interest, and that is something that, particularly with the potential new stadium, is going to really, I think, will end up taking off. I do think that people can look at St.Andrews and it not being full, last season. It has been this season. And then might say you couldn't even fill the stadium when you had like capacity of 28,000. But I think we're moving past that now, and I think the capacity and the potential for this club is enormous.
I think capacities go up as you go up the pyramid, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I mean, say that we've got more capacity this season in the lower league than we ever did in the Championship.
Because fans want to watch successful clubs.
Exactly, yeah, and we've got the right owners now. We're moving in the right direction. The right decisions are being made. But I think it's a very valid question. I think it's a really interesting point, and I think that if we were in the Premier League, not just surviving in the Premier League, but actually getting some, mid-table team maybe, or actually picking up wins and stuff, I think we'd be a 50,000-ish capacity club somewhere in that bracket. I think we could get those sorts of numbers. But it is an interesting question while it's being built. If it does while we're in the Championship, who knows what's going to happen? Could we fill out 50 to 60,000? It's a good question. But as you say, success breeds numbers, puts bums on seats. And this stadium isn't just for Birmingham City. This stadium's going to be for England international games, gigs, concerts, comedy shows, you name it. This new Birmingham City Stadium is going to be a hub for the city, and that's going to breed interest as well.
Yeah.
And I think a big thing as well, which is going to bring in the numbers, which we haven't spoken about, is transport links. How easy is this stadium going to be to get to? Because we all know St.Andrews is a pain to get into. It doesn't feel safe parking your car. It's got links. It has got links to the city centre, but then getting out of the ground can be a nightmare, can't it? So all these sorts of things. But I think if we get those things right, we could see the numbers rising even more again. Who knows? Good question. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, really good. Yeah.
So next one, Dan. This is from Richard Pincher. Rich Pitch 1979, a regular contributor, commenter to our channel. So thank you again, Richard. I will read this in its entirety because I think this is a really, really important question, actually. So it says, with promotion to the Championship almost certainly secured with one eye on the next season, it's both inevitable and understandable that season ticket and match day ticket prices will increase. With that in mind, I'm interested to get your thoughts on what would be a fair and reasonable percentage increase on the average season ticket, and likewise for a match day ticket. I also would like to know your thoughts on the concessions for junior and senior tickets. Do you think it's important that these concessions remain in place, or should they be removed, as this is the case for a number of clubs? I'm 45 years old and my daughter's juniors have zero interest in attending any matches, so there would be no benefit should the club decide to do away with any concessionary prices. However, I for one am in favour of the concessions remaining and as not to follow the trend of some clubs to do away with them. Keep it on. Thanks again, Richard.
Yep, thank you for that question, Richard. And let's be under no illusions here. We are going to be paying more. And there's no other way of putting that. Knighthead are investing a lot of money into the club, into the infrastructure, and we are going to be paying more. But the thing is, though, is that it has to be with the fans in mind.
Sustainable.
Yes. So it's all right saying, but I think, was it the Bayern Munich chairman? I think there's a famous statement that he put out a few years ago saying that we have no value in putting the cost on a match day ticket, because obviously they get the commercial revenue and income from everywhere else. So they want to encourage fans to come to the ground, but they don't see the ticket prices as the main motivator to increase revenue and increase income, and because they get it in other ways. So, but what they're saying is, if we can price our tickets fairly and get the fans to come, then we can get finances in other ways by buying food and drinks and merchandise and all that type of stuff.
Wagner alluded to that in one of the open houses. Again, I don't want to misquote or say it wrong, but he did say raising revenue prices isn't the most efficient way to create revenue at a club. But
I think there's a realism that there will be increases.
There will be.
I mean, what the first part of Richard's question was, what do you see as a reasonable increase? Now, we're in the Upper Tilton. Our tickets I checked because I couldn't remember how much we paid last year. It was £405 we paid. 405. I would accept a 5 to 8% increase on that for next season, which I think would be fair. That would go from 405 to between 425 and 437.
Okay,
which is quite an increase, but that's 5%.
I've said I haven't said between 5 and 8. I've been quite strict with mine. I said 5 and no more.
But I think it's fair
because you got to remember contextually as well that we're still going from League One to the Championship.
Yes.
I get that we've got great owners. I get that if we want the best players in the Championship next season, we're going to be expected to pay a little bit more. I get all these things, but I think I think 5% is a reasonable increase.
It'd be interesting because I'm pretty sure that not long after the season is over that the club will publish the season ticket prices, but that's what I would say. So in answer to Richard's first part of the question, for me, between 5 and 8%, I think is, I think that's consumable. I think you can probably just about accept that. Now, don't get me wrong. I know this is difficult because everybody's in a different financial place. So we know there's people out there struggling in terms of, they want to go to the games, but the cost is really, really high. So that's just my opinion, and I accept there are going to be people out there that are going to struggle for any increase. So I just hope the club are sympathetic to that and find ways of doing it.
I think that if our tickets are $405, my personal opinion, we don't work for the club or speak to the club. I think we should be expecting. I think with a rise, it will be $425 for the renewal of the championship.
Yeah,
which is a bang on 5% increase.
Yeah, okay, fine. The second part of the question is another one as well. That's talking about whether the club would continue to give concessions, and I think absolutely.
Yes, I'm really passionate about this.
Yeah, really, you've got to. I mean, it's never going to happen again. But do you remember going back? Kids for £1 and all that. But that's gone. That's not going to happen. But you've got to think about sustainability and the future of this football club, and you need to get young people into watching Birmingham City, not watching the telly, and I'll support Liverpool or Manchester City or Chelsea or Arsenal.
Or even worse, Villa.
I wasn't going to mention that, but
it's a valid.
Why would you waste your money on that?
But it's a valid argument, Dad. If you're at home and we're not doing enough to get the younger generation through, they're going to go to other local clubs as well. Villa, Wolves, Baggies,
other local clubs.
Other local clubs, exactly. So we need to do our bit to get bums on seats for the younger generation.
I think there has to be some thought in the club about how they will incentivise that to encourage. I know that you can get family tickets, so they have tried doing certain things, but I hope they look at this closely. And I'm sure they'll have a plan about what and how they're going to move things forward. But the families and the young fans is where we really need to, and also as well our elderly.
100%.
Look after our elderly, fans as well. The people that have been loyal and supporting the club for years. Look after them as well.
Dad, and this is a case in point.
Because I'll be in that category.
We saw it again. Sorry, we didn't see it again. So we saw it at Tottenham. The older generation completely lose their concessions. And I saw a heartbreaking story. This was from a Wolverhampton Wanderers fan. He's had his season ticket since just gone past the World War II. He's had his season ticket since, I think, the late 40s, early 50s, and he had to sell it 2 years ago because it creeped past the £1,000 mark from where he was sitting. Completely unacceptable.
I read that as well.
They completely, in my opinion, betrayed the older generation there by raising it to a ticket level which was unsustainable. Yeah. And I think... But I'm not saying everyone in the middle doesn't count, but the core of the youth and taking care of your older generation, it's the basics of society, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Really key one for me. And thank you, Richard. I think that's a really important, valid question, because we are going to have these difficult conversations as a club as we move forward and get more successful, aren't we? It is going to happen. So that brings us on to another regular comment on our channel. That's Old and Blue. Thank you very much for your comment and the references to the Matrix. Always love them. Although they have calmed down a bit recently. I'll have to get those back in. Although I'm not on the comments as much recently, so...
No. I always, if we get a comment from Old and Blue, I've never even watched the Matrix. I ain't got a clue what it means. So I just bang it over to Matt. I say, Matt, would you mind responding to this one?
So he says, we all know we will need an upgrade in certain areas to succeed next season. Neumann coming in, which is a start, but who do you think will leave to accommodate those coming in? My candidates, Bailey, Peacock, Farrell, Bielek, Leonard, Dykes, May, all will bring in funds, and sadly Yuki to retire, but as well as an extra up front, we desperately need pace on the wings.
So basically, who's vulnerable, the question is, to being sold, and I agree with all of those. I mean, and not that, by the way, I'm not saying or suggesting that any of us want those to go, but the likes of Bailey, Peacock, Farrell, I think people know that we possibly will be looking at a goalkeeper in the summer. Bielek, we know he's not getting much game time, or hasn't had much game time, so he's the type of player that's not going to want to sit on the bench. Mark Leonard, I hope, he's been, he came in, a lot of clubs are after him in the summer. He chose us, and then suddenly a Water comes in, Pake's already there, and Mark Leonard can't go and get sniffed.
Yeah, I know.
I hope we don't lose him. I hope he perseveres and stays there.
Same.
But then he's another player that might be knocking on Chris Davies' door. So look, I want more game time, and he can't guarantee it.
And I think Chris Davies, Dad, for people like Leonard who work hard, who just haven't slightly been good enough in terms of, because Awata and Pake have been outstanding. I think Chris Davies will shake his hand and go, you know what, we'll give you what you want. You shake your hand, wish you all the best, and no hard feelings, because he's worked his socks off. He's tried his best. Just hasn't quite been able to break consistently into the team. So I think in those regards, and Alfie May as well, people like that, you just have to shake their hands and go, good luck for the future. Yeah. And well wishes.
There's two more that I'd like to add to that list. Again, this is not me saying that I want these players sold, but
I've got two more as well.
The question is that, who could potentially leave, or which is basically saying who could be vulnerable to leaving. I've got Williamson and Hansen.
Exactly the same.
Have you?
Yeah, I have. So, yeah, and Deion Sanderson, but he's obviously coming back on.
I'm pretty sure that he'll be gone. I mean, obviously we've got Clara and Neumann. Davies, I hope we sign him, by the way, but he's still on loan at the moment, so he's not. So I think Deion will be. So he'll probably end up in Derby County with
he could be
John Eustace.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah,
but I agree. Dad Williamson and Hanson as well.
Yeah.
Okay. And to be fair, I mean, this is obviously we could have a whole podcast around the ingoings and outgoings, couldn't we? So there's a couple more I could arguably put on there, but another podcast another time. So really good question, and thank you for sending that in. So next question is from Jas JPS. I'll pronounce it that way because I'm not too sure if there is no JPS what that would sound like. So of the players we have on loan, who do you think will be offered a contract and who will return to their parent clubs at the end of the season?
Okay, so I've interpreted this question as who would I sign, who would I want to sign out of the loan players and who would not. We know that Taylor Garden-Hickman signed, or it becomes official 1st of July, I think, or end of June. Samsted, I believe, is the same. Alphonse Samsted, I believe there was a deal in place that he'd sign. So we've got those two. I hope we sign Ben Davies. I know that some fans, I think everyone likes Ben Davies, but I think there's some uncertainty whether or not, now that we've got Neumann coming in, whether he might feel his place is in jeopardy. But it's always good to have competition in that place. But I think Ben Davies, and I'd love to sign Kieran Dowell as well. I think he's been absolutely brilliant for us. I think that Luke Harris will go back to Fulham. I don't think we'll sign him. Because he's just not getting the game time.
Yeah.
So for me, we've done well. With Taylor Garden-Hickman has been brilliant.
He's outstanding.
Samsted, bit of a surprise for me that we, because I thought we was alone, but obviously the deal was that we'd have the option to buy, and it was triggered by apparently if we didn't get relegated.
Yeah,
so we was always going to sign him in that case. But for me, I'd love to sign Ben Davies and Kieran Dowell, and Luke Harris will I believe go back to Fulham. With our best wishes, but I just don't think he hasn't had the impact in the amount of game time that I suppose that he'd want, really.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you've said generally across the board. I think Ben Davies, for me, is the one standout. Well, if you take out Taylor Garden-Hickman as well, because he's already signed his contract, would love Taylor Garden-Hickman. I think he's outstanding. Happy with that, buzzing with that. Ben Davies, I mean, there's a question mark around 30, 31, isn't there? But I still think as a centre-half, there's more than enough miles in the tank.
Oh, he's got a couple of good seasons.
Exactly,
at championship level at least in there.
Exactly that. No, so Ben Davies, I have no doubt he can hack it at the championship level. But if Blues want to take him in, great. I think he's had a fantastic season. I think he's certainly earned a contract if we're going to bring it down to that. And Kieran Dowell, I'm on the fence about. I like Kieran Dowell. I think he's made good impact since he's been here. Could we sign someone better as a number 10 in the championship moving forward to the next threshold? I think we could. So for me, just Ben Davies.
Okay, that's fine.
And that hurts me to say because I like Kieran Dowell. I think there's better talent out there for us to sign this summer.
Okay, I think Kieran Dowell has made a difference in that he's given us something in League One that we didn't have before.
Dad, I like Kieran Dowell. I really do, and I think he's made all the difference in League One. I just got a feeling the bar's going to be so high in the championship for Knighthead.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why. Second to last question is from Wombo Dejembe 7180. Thank you very much for your question. And it starts with, when the new stadium is built, is there anything you would specifically hope they took into consideration during the design phase? For me, I would like it so that division between the seats doesn't affect the capacity. And he talks about, again, sort of the segregation. And then he says, also, sorry, I'm going on for so long, but I really don't want drums. But I like the metal sheets we bang on, so I want more of those.
Okay. I don't think you will get metal sheets. It's going to be a brand new stadium, isn't it? Okay, so what would I like to see in the new stadium? Now, I think we're going to talk about the stadium only here because I think we could talk all day about the transport links and the infrastructure and getting to and from, because I think that's already been dealt with by Tom Wagner, and that's what they're looking and talking to the government about at the moment, and the council and the mayor. But the actual stadium itself, obviously, we haven't seen any initial designs yet, so we don't know what exactly it's going to look like. But for me, I think that's a very good thing about this. You've got plenty of space between your seats. You don't want to be cramped with your knees. I'm quite tall, so I don't want to be banging my knees on the seats in front and stuff like that. But also, I'd like to have wide open concourses as well, so that you've got lots of space for fans and lots of really good food and drink outlets in there in a really well designed structure, which I think the club work will do. Some people at previous podcasts in these questions have talked about the possibility of a retractable roof. I'm not really overly, a roof that can open and close. Yeah. I'm not really sort of bothered either way, but I think if it's a multi-purpose stadium, that would be of benefit, so that if you've got a concert and it's pouring down a rain, put the roof on.
Yeah.
So
also, I think if you're spending that amount of money going through all this hassle, why not?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
You
I mean, obviously, a retractable roof ain't cheap, but then so's cancelling a concert ain't cheap. It's ran as well. Obviously, I think I'm really, really looking forward to seeing the preliminary designs when they come out. I don't know how long that'll be. It's obviously a big process. We know it's going to take time, but it's going to be sad to leave St Andrews. But I think on the basis it's going to be a new modern stadium. I think all of us will, when we eventually do get in there, will be, happy with whatever's produced.
Yeah.
I think.
I agree with what you sort of said, that especially about like the concourse and the ergonomics, I guess, of how it's all going to work and fit together. And for me, I mean, I took this question a bit more around the design element, and a lot of people talk about soulless bowls and the NFL stadiums and all these things. I could be completely on my own here, and I completely appreciate that, but like, I wouldn't mind having some sort of red brick incorporation into the design. So again, I'm not saying this stadium, but when you look at Rangers' Ibrox, it's quite big and it has modern elements, but it has that red brick to it. But there's something about the red brick which kind of has that old school DNA to it still. Yeah. And I maybe it's personal preference. I think the red brick style stops you from having that soulless circular bowl. And by the way, I mean absolutely no disrespect to these clubs. I just mean it as a copycat kind of formula. Middlesbrough, Coventry. Those kind of just circular stadiums, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with them. I'm just saying, if we're going to shoot for the stars, I quite like the idea of. I'm not saying it has to be fully red brick or Ibrox. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying something which gives it an old school still feel to it. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, because you're right, because we could easily produce the standard bowl, and I'm sure we'd all it'll do the job. But I think I agree with you. But what I would say on this is that Knighthead have already shown us what they've done with our current stadium.
Yeah.
They've with what they've got and what they've done, it's quite staggering, really, the difference in terms of the feel of the stadium. What they've done with the box to box bar, even though it's not technically box to box, they sort of resold that a little bit, but you know what I mean. It's but they made use of a space that was basically full of spoil and fill. And also as well, the fan zones and the way that they've changed things. So I think there's every reason for us Blues fans to be encouraged by what they've already done compared to what they will do with the new stadium. So I think it's exciting.
All I'll say is, Dad, absolutely my non-negotiable I do not want to see is an Olympic track around the edge with like the stage, like West Ham's Olympic Stadium, where you're miles far away back from the action.
That won't happen.
Cannot happen.
I think they have to have that because
I get that.
The Commonwealth Games Stadium.
Of course it was. It was the old. It was the London 2012 Olympic Stadium, wasn't it? It was where the the main bulk of the games happened.
Yeah.
So
Man City. That was a Commonwealth Stadium.
It was. It was London 2012 Olympics that happened for West Ham. And I get it. I'm not knocking West Ham Stadium. I'm just saying for Blues, absolutely no Olympic track. Yeah. It cannot happen. You're too far away from the action. Okay. Good question and good answer there, Dad. So the last one is from Stephen Broadhurst 270, a nice simple tag to end it on. If you could bring one ex-player back for next season, who would it be and why? He doesn't need to be still playing now. Keep right on with the great podcast. Thank you, Stephen.
2 words, Trevor Francis. But and it would always, for me, it would always be Trevor. Always, it would always be Trevor Francis, because he if you didn't see him play, he sort of had everything, Trevor. He was a proper player. But obviously, I think that's going to be a standard answer for a lot, particularly the older Blues fans like me. So I've picked out somebody else who I would love to see back, and I know you used to love, and my daughter, your sister, used to love, and that's Jose Dominguez.
Do you
remember him?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. I do remember him. He was literally the first couple of years I ever went to watch Blues.
And he was at a time when Blues were not in the doldrums, but I think he was in Barry Fry's era.
It was around that time.
And he played alongside Kevin Francis.
He did,
I remember him. He was he's something like we didn't have at Blues before. He was a nippy winger. He really was an exciting player to watch, and something completely different. So I mean, I'm sure Blues fans that are watching this will have lots and lots of choices here. So for me, if I could bring any player back, it would always be Trevor Francis. But if someone says to me, that's just a stock answer, then I'd go for Jose Dominguez.
Who would my stock answer be?
Oh, I know. It's going to be Ollie Burke, isn't it?
Ollie Burke, yeah. Oh, God, do you remember that one podcast? I said, don't wait to the end of the season. Send him back now. It was like January or something. So I mean, quite seriously, who would be my stock answer?
I know, it'd be Martin Granger.
Martin Granger, exactly. So I'm not going to use Martin Granger because everyone knows how much I love him. But again, this is very much a my era answer. Mine would be Mikael Forsell.
Oh, okay.
And by the way, that isn't a knock at Alfie May and Jay Stansfield and anyone that we have up front. It's just what a striker. Every time he went through, you thought he was going to score. It reminds me of all those glory Premier League days. Proper striker. Yeah, Mikael Forsell for me.
Yeah. No, they're good players on. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm sure the Blues fans who are watching this will have their own views. Let us know in the comments below what you think about any one player. You could bring them back. Then put them in the comments below and let us know what your thoughts are. I'd be interested to read those, wouldn't I?
Absolutely, some great questions there, isn't it? And
Fantastic.
as always, me and Dad just want to say thank you for sending them in there. Yeah, we really enjoy the engagement we get from you guys. But as always, we'd love to hear from you. Please let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. As Dad said, that last question's a great one. Is there anyone you'd like to, who you'd think would fit in well with the team? Anyone you'd like to see again playing for Birmingham City? We'd love to hear from you. So please let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you like this video specifically, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up. And check us out on our social media channels. We have an X page, we have an Instagram page, and we're also over on Spotify, so you can listen or watch us over there as well. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and press that bell notification so you get notified every time we post a video. And myself and Dad will see you on the next one, all about Birmingham City.